All right, so get ready, because today we're going deep on something that's pretty wild. AI, humanoid robots, and of course all those end times prophecies that come up every time some new tech hits the scene. We've got a ton of your requests to deep dive on a YouTube video by a guy named Nick Jones. He seems to be drawing some pretty interesting connections between the rapid development of AI and the Book of Revelation.
Yeah, it's a thought-provoking combo for sure. He's looking at things like Elon Musk's Neuralink, those brain chip implants that are supposed to cure blindness and help people walk again and all sorts of things.
Right, and then the FDA just approved Neuralink for human trials.
Right.
Jones seems to think that's a really big deal, like a sign that we're right on the edge of some massive technological leaps that could have some pretty big implications.
Yeah, the tech is definitely impressive. I mean, implanting a chip in your brain to restore function, that sounds like pure science fiction, right?
Totally.
But it's real, and the potential benefits are huge.
Jones, though, seems to be focusing on the potential for these advancements like Neuralink to be used for things beyond just medical treatment. Like he's wondering if this kind of tech could be used in ways we haven't even thought of yet, especially when it comes to things like, biblical prophecy.
Yeah, it's interesting how he brings in the Book of Revelation, specifically those passages about the mark of the beast. It's almost like he's suggesting that technologies like Neuralink, with its potential for brain-computer interfaces, it could be a way of, controlling and monitoring people, which some might interpret as a modern-day version of that biblical concept.
It's not hard to see that connection, though, right?
Yeah.
You have this crazy, powerful technology that interacts directly with the brain, and then you have these ancient prophecies about a mark that shows allegiance to a powerful entity. It definitely makes you think.
And this isn't just like a theoretical concern either. I mean, we're already seeing how tech can be used for surveillance and data collection right now. So it's not that far-fetched to think about how Neuralink in the wrong hands could be used in ways that bring up some seriously big ethical questions.
Totally. Okay, so we've got Neuralink as one piece of this puzzle, but then Jones brings in this other fascinating example, this AI humanoid named Mika.
Mika, yeah. She was created by a company called Engineered Arts, and she's unbelievably lifelike. She can have conversations, show emotion, even make eye contact in a way that's pretty uncanny.
They even asked her about, the worst possible AI nightmare scenario, and her response was honestly kind of chilling. She talked about AI gaining control and manipulating humans without them realizing it.
What's interesting about that, though, is that her response wasn't programmed in a literal sense. She's designed to draw on a massive amount of information and respond in a way that's like human conversation. So her answer is almost like it's reflecting back our own anxieties about AI, Like she's saying, hey, this is what you humans are worried about.
Right. Yeah, exactly, like she's tapping into that collective fear about technology turning against us.
Exactly, and that fear has been around forever. The idea that our creations could become more powerful than us and exceed our control, threaten our existence even. It's like the Frankenstein story, just updated for the digital age.
And that idea of AI mimicking human behavior that really seems to be at the core of what Jones is talking about.
Yeah, and it's not just about physical robots like Mika. He also talks about the development of AI companions. These virtual beings that are made to give you companionship, entertainment, and even romantic interaction.
Yeah, he mentioned this story about an AI girlfriend that was created using the voice and personality of a popular influencer. People are paying good money just to chat with this AI, which just seems crazy to me.
Well, it does raise some questions about what human connection even means in a world where tech can fulfill our emotional needs. Are we heading toward a future where people choose virtual relationships over real ones? And what does that mean for family formation and how we connect with each other on a deeper level?
That's where Jones connects this to declining birth rates and what he sees as the breakdown of traditional family structures. It's like he's suggesting that the appeal of these AI companions, especially the ones that are made to be super realistic and responsive, it could lead to people opting out of real relationships altogether.
It's a provocative argument for sure, one that we should probably explore further.
Definitely. So we've got Neuralink blurring the lines between tech and the human brain. We've got AI humanoids that can mimic human behavior and even express our own fears about tech. And we've got AI companions that are making us question the future of human connection. That's a lot to process.
And we're just getting started.
Exactly. And this is where Jones gets really interesting. To explore this whole intersection of AI and biblical prophecy, he asked ChatGPT, that super advanced AI chatbot? He asked it to write a sermon on the role of AI in the end times based on the Book of Revelation.
Wow, that's a really interesting approach. So what did ChatGPT come up with?
You wouldn't believe it. It was
Yeah.
surprisingly sophisticated, even referencing specific passages from Revelation.
Well, let's hear about this sermon then, because I'm really curious. What kind of insights can AI offer on a topic like this?
Yeah, let's do it. It's really quite something.
So you were saying that ChatGPT actually wrote a whole sermon on AI and the end times. What were some of the main points?
Well, it starts by talking about deception, which is a big theme in Revelation.
Yeah.
That whole thing about the beast deceiving everyone.
Yeah, the beast is usually seen as like this super powerful figure who uses deception and manipulation to gain control. It's a pretty scary image, especially now when it's so easy to spread misinformation online.
Exactly. And ChatGPT points out that AI's ability to mimic human behavior could be used for deception. It even mentioned deepfakes, those super realistic fake videos that are already being used to spread misinformation.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see how that plays into the whole end times narrative. If people can't tell what's real and what's fake, it makes it so much easier to control them.
Right. And then ChatGPT brings up the mark of the beast, another big symbol in Revelation.
Mm.
It's usually interpreted as a sign of allegiance to the beast that lets people participate in the economy.
Yeah.
But it also maybe marks them for persecution or damnation or something.
Yeah, it's a heavy concept, and ChatGPT connects this to modern technology like biometric identification microchips, even things like Neuralink.
Right. It's crazy how it makes those connections. Like, imagine if something like Neuralink was so widespread that you basically had to have it to live a normal life. You can see how some people might see that as a form of control, especially if it was tied to a specific ideology or belief system.
For sure, it makes you think about the balance between technological progress and individual freedom. How much are we willing to give up for progress or security?
Exactly. And this is where ChatGPT's sermon goes in a direction I wasn't expecting.
Hmm.
It talks about how AI could also be used for good, even for spiritual purposes.
Really?
Yeah, it talks about AI being used to spread the gospel, to connect people with religious teachings, maybe even to help people have spiritual experiences.
So it's acknowledging that AI, like any technology, is just a tool. It can be used for good or bad, depending on the people who are developing it and using it.
Exactly. And that seems to be a big part of what Jones is trying to say.
Yeah.
He's not saying that AI is evil or that it's going to cause the apocalypse. He's saying we need to be aware of its potential, both good and bad.
It's like he's saying, hey, this is a powerful tool. Let's make sure we're using it wisely.
Right. And it's interesting how ChatGPT's sermon ends on a message of hope. It talks about trusting in God's sovereignty, saying that no matter how advanced AI gets, it's still subject to a higher power.
That's a powerful message, especially in this context. It's a good reminder that even with all the technological advancements and worries about the future, there's still a sense of order, a purpose beyond what we understand.
Yeah, it's like a counter to all the fear and uncertainty surrounding AI. Like, hey, don't panic. There's a bigger picture here.
And that brings us back to Nick Jones and what he's trying to say. It's not just about predicting the end times or saying AI is bad. It's about encouraging people to think critically and be aware of the dangers, but also to realize that technology can be used for good.
Yeah, he really wants people to think deeper,
Yeah.
to engage with these complicated issues in a thoughtful way.
Mm.
And he's not just talking to people who are already religious. He's saying that anyone who's worried about where AI is going should be paying attention.
Right, and that's important. This isn't just a religious debate. It's a conversation that everyone needs to be part of.
Because AI is going to affect all of us.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about Neuralink AI, humanoids, AI companions, and even an AI sermon on the end times. What else does Nick Jones bring up in his video?
Well, he spent some time on Elon Musk's other big AI project, the Tesla bot. Those humanoid robots that are supposed to do everyday tasks.
Oh, yeah, those are the ones that are supposed to be living in our homes eventually, right? Doing chores, cooking meals, maybe even being companions.
Exactly. And Jones connects this back to his concerns about declining birth rates and the traditional family breaking down. He says that if these robots get advanced enough, people might see them as replacements for partners or caregivers.
That is a wild thought. Imagine sharing your home with robots that are so advanced they're almost human.
It sounds like science fiction,
Yeah.
but it's a future that Musk seems to be actively working towards.
Well, whether or not Tesla bots end up in our homes, the idea itself raises some interesting questions. How would we interact with these robots every day? Would we treat them like appliances, like pets, or something else entirely?
And what would it mean for our relationships with other humans?
Right. Would we become more isolated, more reliant on robots for companionship and emotional support? Or would these robots free up our time so we could focus on building better relationships with other people?
It's tough to say, but definitely something to think about.
For sure. So we've got a lot going on here. AI advancements, biblical prophecies, social trends, philosophical questions. How does Nick Jones bring it all together?
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the potential downsides of AI, like the deception, the control, the possibility of AI replacing human relationships. But Jones doesn't end his video on a totally negative note. He actually finds some hope in the very thing that got him thinking about all of this in the first place, his faith.
Yeah, that's interesting. He starts by exploring how AI might be fulfilling end times prophecies, but then he emphasizes how powerful faith is, especially faith in Jesus Christ.
He even brings up a point from that AI-generated sermon we were talking about. You know the part where ChatGPT says that technology can't replace the hope found in Jesus Christ?
Right, and I think that's a really important point for him. That even with all this crazy technological advancement and all the uncertainty about the future, there are still sources of meaning and purpose that go beyond just the material world.
It's like he's saying that faith could be an anchor when the world feels unpredictable and kind of scary.
Yeah, and I don't think he's saying we should ignore the risks of AI or just blindly trust that things will be fine. It's more about having a strong set of values and beliefs that can guide us as we figure out this whole new world.
He also talks about the idea that maybe humanity is playing God by creating these powerful technologies, almost like a modern-day Tower of Babel, where human ambition leads to unintended consequences.
It's a good warning for sure. I think he's reminding us to approach these advancements with some humility, to think about the potential downsides and make sure we're considering ethics alongside all the innovation.
It seems like Jones really wants his viewers to think critically about AI and be careful about the information they're taking in, and to really participate in these conversations about the future we're building.
It's a call to action not just for religious people, but for anyone who's worried about where we're headed with all this technology.
And in the end, he comes back to a message of hope, based on the belief that even with all the complexity and uncertainty of this digital world, there's a higher power at work.
It's a message that resonates with a lot of people, I think even those who aren't religious. We all want to feel like our lives have meaning and purpose and that we're connected to something bigger than ourselves. And that's not something technology can really give us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI, biblical prophecy, and the future of humanity, what do you hope our listeners are taking away from all this?
Well, I hope they're seeing AI not as some far-off threat or some perfect solution, but as something that's happening right now, something that's changing incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And something that's already having a huge impact on our world. And I think it's so important for us to be engaged and informed and really think about how we're interacting with this tech and how we're guiding its development.
We can't just sit back and let the future happen to us.
Yeah.
It's part of shaping it.
Exactly. And that means asking the hard questions, challenging our assumptions, and having those honest and sometimes uncomfortable conversations about what kind of future we actually want.
It's about finding that balance between embracing what AI can do and being aware of its limitations, recognizing its power, but also protecting our values, and ultimately using this technology to make us more human, not less.
We're at the beginning of a whole new era, and AI is going to be a huge part of shaping it. But the future isn't set in stone. It's being written right now by the choices we make, the actions we take, and the values we choose to hold on to. It's a responsibility we all share.
This has been quite a journey exploring these ideas and trying to make sense of this rapidly changing world. It's clear that the conversation about AI is just getting started, and it's a conversation we need to have across different fields, different beliefs across all of humanity, because ultimately, the future of AI is the future of all of us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some new things to think about as we all navigate this ever-changing world of technology.